How we doing, guys? Episode 90 of The Exec Talk. I am your host, Dovalez. How are we doing today? On this beautiful Thursday. It's gonna be a quick episode here. I mean, quick as what we call quick here, maybe an hour. Some free agency news have come down. People have gotten salary cap compliant by yesterday's 4 o'clock deadline. Um, We've had some signings, some releasings that we're gonna go through. We're gonna talk about some baseball, uh, you know, some key injuries, some trades, um, basketball. What we're looking at here, it as it pertains to everybody getting healthy. Possible matchups. Some draft stuff based on what the free agency landscape has shaped out to be. Maybe some shakeups in what people might draft. And also I'm gonna give my three best free agency teams that I think did the best with franchise tags and free agency, as well as we still have the ball. The ball has gotten rolled. I mean, it has gotten a nudge when we think about the wide receiver market with Calvin Ridley. But everybody else, Deontay Johnson got moved to the Panthers, but everybody else kind of still waiting for JJ, waiting what they're going to do with T. Higgins. Mike Williams got released. We'll see where he goes, but everything else in the wide receiver market's kind of wide open right now. So, without further ado, let's get to talking about free agency. There's no F1 this week. It's next week. They're going to Australia. So we'll talk about that next week. NASCAR is going to, I will let you guys know right now where NASCAR's heading to, this week. If you hear the bird in the background, they went to Phoenix last week. That was Christopher Bell. We talked about that. Next, they go to Bristol. All right, they go to what is called as Bristol Motor Speedway. They're going to run on concrete this time. They were running on dirt for the last 3 years. Yes, NASCAR started on dirt way back when, in the olden times, the time of the boomers. But now they went back to it for 3 years, but now the drivers and fans, they all wanted to go back to how Bristol was run for damn near 50 years, which was on the concrete, really short track, hard to pass, hard to also keep your tires from going flat or you spinning out in a corner because of how small and compact it is. It's not even it's not even a mile. It might be 0.7 of a mile. Might be 0.75 of a mile, so or 3/4 of a mile track. I actually don't remember, which is my fault, but it's a short track, very short track. Dirt racers are usually the ones that succeed here, so I'm looking for Kyle Busch and Larson, Denny Hamlin, the experienced guys to really come towards the top at this racetrack. Anyway, starting with some free agency stuff. We got to start off with the Chargers. They were the worst when it came to salary cap compliance. They were $25 million over starting yesterday. And they had a list of players that they had to kind of work out who was gonna get the short end of the stick. Players: Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, which went to the Commanders, so he's off the books. But it came down to, in my opinion, probably came down to Khalil Mack and Mike Williams, and they released Mike Williams. I agree with it. I think that it was the best football move in both sides, as well for money purposes and for the football team. Yes, I know Mike Williams is an impact player and is a great deep threat, has been for a couple years, but at the same time, you gotta understand, this man cannot stay healthy. Okay, last 3 years, this man has gotten severely injured every season and missed 4 to 5 games. You can't do that with your number 2 receiver. You put yourself in a bad spot. The addition of Quentin Johnston last year, drafting him in the first round, I feel like he's going to take a year 2 leap. So with all that in mind, I think it was a great move for the Chargers in order to dump the salary and, get under the salary cap, restructure Khalil Mack's contract so they can keep him for one more year. All that makes sense for the Chargers and Harbaugh. So that was very good of them to know who to not get rid of, but who had to be the cap casualty. Mike Williams, still a good receiver, possibly can find himself. It really depends. I mean, if you look at Deontay Johnson going to the Panthers, getting traded from the Steelers, I think that Mike would do great there alongside George Pickens, but I believe that the Steelers are dead set on taking a wide receiver in this year's draft. And based on their draft pick and stuff like that, people say that Brian Thomas Jr. might be there, Xavier Worthy might be there, A.D. Mitchell might be there. I hope none of them are there. Granted, probably one of them will be. I hope it's not A.D. Mitchell. They don't need another freak out there. They already have George Pickens. I hope it's not Xavier Worthy, because I believe that Kansas City is the one that needs him. And Brian Thomas wouldn't be fair. So I hope that they take, honestly, Troy Franklin, okay? I hope that they take somebody that I wouldn't like Keon Coleman to go there either, but if it becomes from Brian Thomas to Keon Coleman, I'll give him Keon Coleman just because of the speed factor. I'll take Brian Thomas, the physical specimen. But other than that, we have Ronnie Stanley, All-Pro, left tackle for the Ravens. They've agreed to a reworked contract. He was due $15 million this year. He now plays on less in base pay, but has upside potential to reach or surpass that number. The $26.2 million cap hit will reduce. So that's good for the Ravens. They get to keep their best tackle and their best offensive lineman, honestly. Ronnie Stanley, the guy that protects Lamar's left side, get to keep him one more year. I believe that they will, depending on his age and how the injury wave hits this season, because he's been injured a lot and missed, whole seasons with knee injuries and stuff like that. It's kind of like, for next year, but right now they're keeping him. They should. Shout out to them. Derek Watt, retired, the second Watt brother to retire. He was the fullback for the Steelers for a long time. Not the most famous Watt brother, but always one that, lunch pail guy, big dude, played fullback, good dude, blocked, not like his other two brothers, but he played with his brother in the pros. That's incredible, and I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure he'll do something with his brothers. The Patriots have re-signed their own linebacker, Anthony Jennings, 3-year deal, $12 million with a max value of $24 million. They need to keep the linebackers. They need to keep that young defensive core. It's what's gonna drive them forward. The Patriots have no legitimate hope to make it to the playoffs this year, in my opinion, just because only 7 teams make it to the playoffs. And if you just look at how the landscape has shaped out so far, it is Kansas City, Ravens, Cincinnati will be better with Joe Burrow back. Potentially the Chargers. You still got the Bills. You still got the Texans. Potentially the Colts. Potentially the Jaguars. So for the Patriots, it's going to be potentially the Jets. For the Patriots, you still got some very tough things to work through before you even think of sniffing a a playoff berth, to be honest, and that starts with your quarterback situation. Excuse me. The Raiders release Hunter Renfro. Okay, so this is a guy that I've been watching since Clemson, and the game winning play that Deshaun passed to him to win the national championship against Bama, and and he's a great slot receiver. He was a Pro Bowler 1 year, and I don't understand. Once Josh McDaniels went into that team, he has not gotten the same volume of targets, attention, even snaps even. We thought that he might become like another Wes Welker, another Julian Edelman, and just it hasn't materialized in the Raiders. A team that could really use him and could potentially turn him into a real weapon. You look at like a team like San Francisco. You look at a team like the Chargers, Colts potentially. Packers have too many people. But like that slot receiver that can get open on third down situations. The Chiefs, but they need a stretch. They need a guy to stretch the field. They got Travis Kelce for those third downs. But I don't think that this is the end for Hunter Renfro. I think this is honestly just the beginning. The Rams could pick him up, honestly. Put him up against Puka, Cooper, and him. That would be interesting. Other teams, if I'm really thinking about it, I mean, you could give a safety blanket throw to Trevor Lawrence in the Jags. The Vikings, depending on what they do with Justin Jefferson, but that would be such a downgrade. I think for him, his skill set, I think the Eagles would be good for third down, short yardage situations. Cardinals potentially to add him to Marvin Harrison Jr. once they draft him. On the other side with Rondale Moore, that could be something interesting. The Raiders, he just got released from the Raiders, Josh. Come on. But they had to save some salary. They got rid of Josh Jacobs, sent him to the Packers. So, and they also released Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, the release of Jimmy Garoppolo comes at a very interesting time because this means that either they're drafting quarterback or Aiden O'Connell is their starter. Whichever way they go is going to kind of shape how Antonio Pierce is kind of looked at in a sense, because you got to understand, like, Antonio has to build an offense. He's a defensive coach. He's a player's coach, but he has to build an offense. And Davante Adams is not getting any younger. You don't have Darren Waller anymore. He went to the Giants last season. So you really got to find Jacoby Myers is still there, but you lost Josh Jacobs, so you got to find another running back. They feel good about Zamir White. Okay, if you feel good about Zeus, that's cool, but, I think you need that home run hitter. Got to fix the offensive line. You got to build an offense. You're going to face KC twice. You're going to face Chargers twice, and whatever the Broncos do, if they get J.J. McCarthy, that is, or Bo Nix, they're going to be better. So, interesting things, but I think Jimmy had to get out of there. It was part of the old regime. The team really didn't vibe with him. So I think it's a good move. Hunter Renfro will find a home. I am pretty sure he will find a home. And he will do some good things. So top available free agents as of yesterday. One of them is actually out of here, which is Calvin Ridley. We'll talk about him going to Tennessee. Marquise Brown is out there. Tyron Smith for the tackle, the future first ballot Hall of Famer. DJ Reader, the D tackle. Kevin Zeitler, the offensive tackle. Stephon Gilmore, the cornerback. He could be somebody that maybe the Dolphins could pick up, since we lost X. Kendall Fuller's another cornerback. Justin Simmons is probably the best out of this whole list. How I'm looking at, Bobby's gone. He went to the Commanders. Bobby Wagner, that is. He went from Seattle to the Commanders to be with Dan Quinn again. Cam Curl, the cornerback from Washington. Chase Young potentially could be somebody that the Dolphins could look at to add edge depth and help there. Tyler Boyd, a great number 3 receiver that can work as a number 2, has number 1 type of ability. In some aspects, he would be a great number 2 to a guy like, honestly, Tyler Boyd would be a good addition in the Jaguars now that they lost Calvin Ridley, but, they really need a number one. They lost Calvin Ridley. They didn't even take full advantage of his potential. Curtis Samuel, Debo Samuel type of player, playing in Washington. I think they should keep him. It's a big part of that offense, but I get it. If they can't keep him, he would be a very good addition to a team like the Chargers, even the Raiders. To be honest, Tyler Boyd would be great for the Raiders. So those are very interesting. Bobby Wagner, like I said, he went to the Commanders. Julian Blackmon, the cornerback or / safety, he could be a good addition to somebody. And A.J. Dillon. Now, the thing about A.J. Dillon, he's just a slow-footed running back. He's a big bruiser. So if I'm, for example, Tennessee got Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. So if I'm Tennessee, I'm looking for a big bruiser, A.J. Dillon. That makes sense. Same thing with like the Colts. Zach Moss is gone. You still got the speedster and Jonathan Taylor. Let's get a bruiser, A.J. Dillon. That would be some places that I could see A.J. Dillon going to or possibly having interest in him. The tight end, Austin Hooper. He's expected to sign with the Patriots, so the Patriots signed another tight end. Like, this has been a theme from Jonnu Smith to Hunter Henry, and now to Mike Gesicki to now Austin Hooper. 1-year deal, $4.25 million, reunites him with his old Patriots OC and Alex Van Pelt, that was with him in Cleveland. Listen, guys, like I said, like, the Patriots really have no hope. For you Patriots fans out there, like, the dynasty is really over. Like, you are fully rebuilding. And when I mean fully rebuilding, I don't mean like, we're rebuilding, it'll take 2 years. No. Like, you're like dire straits. What are we going to do for the next 5-6 years? We're scared for our future type of rebuilding. Christian Gonzalez is probably your best player all around. Whole team. It's probably Christian Gonzalez in year 2 coming off I believe it was an ACL. You got to do something. You have not made no splash moves. The additions you have made don't really amount to anything because your quarterback room is doo-doo, poo-poo, Pachu, dog shit. Okay, that is dog water, what you got in the quarterback room right now, and that's not going to get you anywhere in the division and conference that you're at. I'm sorry. A big splash, something that is very good for the Texans. They signed Danielle Hunter, get a deal with him, 98% fully guaranteed. It's insane. Includes $29.5 million in year 1. See, this is what I meant when you lose Jonathan Grenard, right? And he's a young player, really good to stand on the other side of Will Anderson. But now you get a guy that you potentially have teams like, okay, essentially in the film room, they're like, well, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. All right, they're eeny, meeny, miny, mowing for who to double. Are we going to double Will Anderson or are we going to double Danielle Hunter? A 16.5 sack guy or a guy that's coming into his own in year 2? Either way, you got a problem. And this is one of my teams that has really done well in free agency. I mean, Jack Easterby from his Patriots days, just really, really locking down what they needed. and not leaving themselves any major holes to be filled by the draft. Using the draft more as an enhancer than a plug problem solving solution. That gives yourself a little bit more flexibility when it comes to picking players and positions. Whether you're looking for upside or you're looking for consistency and floor. But this is a great deal for the Texans. Shout out to them. They've done absolute wonders in this free agency period. CJGJ is going back to the Eagles on a 3-year deal, $27 million, $10 million in guarantees. He could earn more via incentives. 1 year at the Lions, he played well. But after going to the Super Bowl with the Eagles get that culture setter back in that back end, that guy that hits hard, talks shit, and backs it up, keeps players accountable, keeps the team accountable. So I like this deal for the Eagles. It solidifies the back end again, adding some star power and some oomph back there. I think that they should be a team that's looking at Justin Simmons. I would like to think that Howie Roseman is thinking that way, but getting CJGJ on a 3-year deal is absolutely incredible for them. Very, very good signing for them after the Saquon Barkley. I mean, the Eagles have done a very good job. I won't say that they're the best team because the Texans and the Commanders have made some serious moves, as well as the Ravens, but and I have to put the Steelers up there because of Patrick Queen and stuff like that. But overall, I think that the Eagles did a solid job. It's not over yet either. The Patriots re-signed Josh Uche to a 1-year, $3 million, $2.3 million guaranteed. A team-friendly deal for the 25-year-old. He has 18.5 sacks in his career. We'll have another shot at free agency this next coming offseason. This is such a Patriots move. He's a good player, good off the edge, fast get off, strong, can tackle. 25 years old, going I think into year 3, year 4. I think that he's gonna do good next year wherever he goes. He's gonna try to go ball out this year because he basically bet on himself with the 1-year deal, earning almost nothing. 3 million, 2.3. That's like basically a veteran minimum for an edge of his age. I think he'll do good this year. They'll let him go next year, but good to secure another young piece at least for this year for the Patriots. Not that they're going anywhere, so the defense is what's going to carry them to any sort of prominence in this instance. One of the big signings, I don't know if I went through it when it happened on last week's episode, but we talked about on Tuesday's episode. But I said that there's connections within the league based on who coached you. And Robert Saleh has been known to poach San Francisco players and vice versa for the San Francisco. But one of the biggest pieces of that D-line of the San Francisco 49ers that's rarely talked about, but was one of the big pieces next to Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa and Chase Young last year, was Javon Kinlaw. Really good plug, run stopping, can rush the passer a little bit, but this is a plug, nose tackle, 3-tech that is just a behemoth of a man in the middle. And for the Jets to sign him to a 1-year, $7.25 million deal with $6.9 million guaranteed, to just put him next to Quinnen Williams is something insane. Because Quinnen then would have the freedom to possibly not get doubled. And if he does get doubled, Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, will have a feast. And then Quincy, Quinnen's brother at the linebacker position, will have run fits. So Javon Kinlaw is a great signing. It's a 1-year deal, but based on what he can do and how he can help Quinnen Williams, I think it's a great signing and a Robert Saleh kind of steal to bring him back to his defensive scheme. The Dolphins are signing re-signing Salvon Ahmed for a 1-year deal, bringing him back for his 5th season in Miami. I mean, he is like our 4th running back. I mean, when anybody gets hurt, whether it's Justin Wilson, Devon Achane, or Mostert, he's the one that pops in. He's like the Myles Gaskin role before Myles Gaskin got cut a few years ago. So I think it's good to keep him. 1-year deal. We'll probably get rid of him next year, unless he goes nuts or we have some legit injury issues and he is our starting running back and we have to pay him. But it's good, I guess, keeping him around. He runs pretty hard, hard worker, doesn't complain. So he's a good player, but he is our 3rd or 4th string running back, if I'm being fair. The Panthers agreed a term with Amir Smith-Marset on a 1-year deal. He's like their 4th receiver. Unfortunately, Marshall Jr. has not translated to the NFL after being part of Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, LSU tandem. He was that 3rd receiver on that championship team for Joe Burrow. And people thought that he would be good at the Panthers where he got drafted. But, lack of quarterback play and, inconsistency with hands, effort, route running, not showing real development, has kind of put him on the back foot. Amir Smith-Marset, I believe, got drafted 2 years ago. He's like their third or 4th string receiver. I mean, I think that Deontay Johnson will be the number 1. I would not be surprised if in the 2nd round of this upcoming draft they draft another wide receiver. There's some legit ones. I could see somebody like Pearsall getting drafted there. If they have a chance at Xavier Legette, I would definitely take him to keep him in the Carolinas since he's from South Carolina. But, looking at Bryce Young's weapon core right now, it's Deontay Johnson, Marshall Jr., you still got Mingo from last year's, Jonathan Mingo from Ole Miss, last year's draft class. He might be turned into their number 1, but I think Deontay, just with his experience, the route running, speed, I think will take over that number 1 role, although Mingo has the upside in order to take it. But Chenault, it's just it's kind of like a sausage. So it's a hot dog. It's a lot of mix in there trying to create one consistent receiving core, and I think they still need a lot of help in that side of the ball. Patrick Mahomes restructured his contract. Remember, he has a $500 million contract for 10 years. He could restructure all the time. So he creates $21.6 million in cap space. In order to, they already signed Chris Jones, but they still, L'Jarius Sneed is still out there. Will they re-sign him? Was that to re-sign him? Are they potentially looking at a T. Higgins? These things, are they potentially looking at Justin Jefferson? These type of money, although it wouldn't make sense for either of those just because, you gave up Tyreek Hill because you didn't want to pay him $30 million a year, and Justin Jefferson's going to command 31, 32, 35. And then T. Higgins, 25 to 30-ish because he's a number 1 receiver and young. But if any of those happen, the Chiefs are insane. Because then you have someone. So this is what I look at when it comes to the Kansas City receiving core. You have to take it structurally, if you look at it as a puzzle, right? The offense versus the defense. The puzzle is with the Kansas City Chiefs. Is there a possible way that you can have 2 on Kelsey while not having any discrepancies or lapses versus everybody else in man coverage. Right now, you can do that. You can put 2 on Kelsey, and be semi-confident that Watson won't beat you, MVS won't beat you. Rashee Rice, going into year 2 might, but he's not that level. If you add a guy like a T. Higgins, like a Justin Jefferson, if you add that type of guy to that lineup, then what you're doing is you're putting defensive coordinators in such a bind, because Patrick, although he loves going to Kelsey, if you even shade to Kelsey, if you even shade to him while he has that type of monster on the outside, you will get cooked by the outside dude, because those outside dudes, T. Higgins and Justin Jefferson, they're not coverable with one person. Just the size with T. Higgins, the smarts with Justin Jefferson at the route in the route running. Patrick is amazing with ball placement. And you have, Justin Jefferson has speed, so does T. Higgins. So, Justin Jefferson a bit more than T, but T has that big size, big catch radius. So that's the mismatch. If they get like an A.D. Mitchell, an Xavier Legette, a Brian Thomas Jr., not they're going to get these guys, you could get an Xavier Worthy, but he's on a smaller stature. I'm talking about a big monster type of receiver. Let's say they get A.D. Mitchell, best case scenario. If they get A.D. Mitchell, you put the defense in a bind, because now they have to decide, okay, well, we got to put our number 1 corner on A.D. Mitchell. That will leave either our nickel on Rashee Rice in the slot, and then we have our safety or a linebacker on Kelsey. And even if you try to switch that, let's say you put your number 1 corner on Kelsey, you still got your nickel on Rashee Rice because he's in the slot. And then at the same time, you're going to put your number 2 receiver, your number 2 corner on A.D. Mitchell, and A.D. is going to pick it up quick. He's going to be like barbecue chicken because of just his size and the speed and just the combination of everything. I think in that system, he will develop into a very good receiver if he gets drafted there. But, back to Mahomes creating cap space. It could be for a myriad of things, but it just shows that he wants to win. He'd rather take the signing bonus now, which is probably what he did instead of getting it paid through 17 games, because that's what restructuring the contract is essentially. Like, you accept a signing bonus. It's basically advance pay, so they can prorate it through the duration of the contract, but they pay it to you already, so the cap hit is less. So shout out to Mahomes. The Eagles had a really good offseason so far, a really good free agency period. They got Saquon, which can have a Christian McCaffrey. Like, that is a scary proposition. Same thing. Let's think about it. Defense wise, what is the problem with the Eagles? Like, what as a defensive coordinator you fear about the Eagles? Well, it starts with A.J. Brown, starts with number 11, then it goes to number 6 in Devontae Smith. But now, before you used to all right, we're gonna play coverage and leave 6 in the box because we don't fear the running backs. DeAndre Swift was good and stuff like that, but we don't fear. There's not legit panic when you look at the running back position on their side. Now with Saquon, if you even think about leaving a light box against that offensive line, you will get gashed. And I am not talking about 5, 6, 7 yards. I'm talking about 25, 30, 40 yards, because Saquon is the type of guy that he gets the ball. If he makes you miss in the hole, he's going to make the other guy miss, and he's going to hit the Jets. He's an athletic freak, and in this offense, with the way that I believe Sirianni's going to use him out of the backfield and everything, he's going to find himself open on screens and Texas routes, And it's gonna come a point where people are gonna, we're gonna worry about Saquon a little bit more this week, and that's gonna be the mistake that is gonna be ultimately the downfall of some teams, because like as soon as you think, they're running through Saquon, let's put 8 in the box, let's stack the box, then you forget that you still got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside, so you can't. You remove your safety. Let's say you send your safety to be 8 in the box, or you lower your strong safety, or maybe you get your nickel to blitz off the edge. If you time it wrong, you're going to get hit over the top. And there's, with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, there's not much you can do. So, Saquon adds that level of explosivity to that offense that, we can double A.J. Well, you want to double A.J.? Well, that's going to leave you a little light in the box, Like you want to have you want to be able to play 7 in the box, so your 4 down linemen and your 3 linebackers, or if you play a 3-4 with 3 down linemen, 4 linebacker types, because it's really linebacker types. Outside linebackers are kind of edge rushers. Or you play 6 DBs and you run the risk of Saquon breaking every tackle and running for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they got CJ back. Devontae Parker, this is an interesting one. Now, he will be like a 3rd or 4th string wide receiver for sure, because I think Quez Watkins is still on the team, the guy that they call Fast Batman. But Devontae Parker's interesting because then it adds like a level of go-get-it ability, because AJ's that guy. So is Devontae Smith. But like, if Devontae Parker embraces the role of just like contested catch, because that's what he is, he doesn't have separation. Now, in this scheme, you're talking about a guy who, if he let's say they go 3 wide. So you leave AJ 1-on-1 on the backside, your X. You got Devontae. If you want to put him at X, you can. Or they're both Devontaes, but you got Slim Reaper. Let's say you put him at the slot. You put Devontae on the outside. That outside corner is going to be probably their 3rd best coverage guy in that defense, because your 2 biggest threats and your 2 biggest weapons as a defensive coordinator is A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So, if they play with it like that, I think Devontae will get, Parker will get good opportunities to impact games and stuff like that, but I don't think it's a big impact signing. Linebacker Zach Bond and O-lineman Matt Hennessy, all good, adding depth to that Eagles team. So the Texans 2 years, $49 million for Danielle Hunter. The Eagles, CJ. The Steelers trade Deontay Johnson and a 7th round pick to the Panthers for Dante Jackson, the cornerback. And a 6th round pick. So what I think about Deontay is that I think Deontay will be that. He'll be that like 120 target receiver for Bryce, unless they figure out that Jonathan Mingo can be that guy, that number 1. But if not, Deontay's going to come in. He's probably the best route runner on the team already. One of the fastest. He will be kind of the star receiver like he was at the Steelers after AB left for a time. But Bryce and him have to develop such a chemistry that 3rd down situations he can go to him. When he needs a big throw, he can go to him. He can trust him to get open against man. He can trust him to sit down in zones. So he has to really step up and be that number 1. I think he can. He has the ability. But I think he also needs help if Jonathan Mingo does not take that year 2 leap that everybody is expecting for him to make. And, Dante Jackson going back to the Steelers, 6th round pick, 7th round pick. I mean, we're talking about fodder here when we're talking about draft picks. But Dante Jackson, they need another DB. They got, Porter Jr. They got rid of Patrick Peterson. Still got Minka. So, putting him in there, Dante Jackson adding that to the mix, he's pretty good. Adds depth to the back end. So it's a pretty good trade for both sides. The Texans, like I said, I mean, this is what the Tex defensive core will look like in 2024. They got DN Will Anderson, DN Daniel Hunter, Danico Autry in the middle, Malik Collins in the middle, Aziz Al-Shaair is your middle linebacker. I think Christian Harris might be. If not, he's coming off the edge. But I think Aziz Al-Shaair was the middle linebacker at Tennessee, and I don't see him changing that. You got Christian Harris at linebacker as well, the Alabama product. You got Derek Stingley, which showed his number one cornerback skills last year after a down year, his rookie year. And then you got Jeff Okudah that you just signed to a 1-year deal. Former first-round pick out of Ohio State. Played for the Lions. He should thrive with D'Amico. D'Amico makes his cornerbacks really good ever since, he had, Sherman in San Francisco, and he made not Charvarius Ward. What was that guy over there for Charvarius Ward? I digress. He made his CBs very good in the 49ers, and I think that he will make Jeff Okudah step up to the plate and be the best player he can be. And then, of course, they got D'Amico at head coach. So, very, very good core for the Texans. The Cardinals signed DJ Dallas from the former Hurricane from the Seahawks. Give him a 3-year deal worth $8.25, upside to 10.5. Kind of a backup to James Conner, I would think. They still got the rookie from last year. I think his last name is. I don't want to butcher it. So, not that it was a complicated name. I just don't remember his specific name. But they have okay, DeMarco. They got the guy from. Mercado from TCU last year. So I think he'll be number 2, and then DJ will be that power back in the number 3 role, and can block and stuff like that. So it's a good signing. They have to protect Kyler. If they don't draft Marvin Harrison Jr., all this goes up in smoke, in my opinion. Like, this is all, you have to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, you have to. This is the only draft pick you have to make. As soon as Drake May goes off the board for the Patriots, I'm expecting the Arizona Cardinals to literally clap him up and already hand the card in for Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, there shouldn't be any discussion about who that 4th pick should be. Isaiah McKenzie, former American Heritage, and Bill and Colt, the returner, the wide receiver. He's going to the Giants. He'll be like the Kadarius Toney, but with less problems. He's shifty. He can get in and out of his breaks. He's really fast, quick. He can be a 3rd down receiver. The number 1 receiver over there is interesting. I still love Wan'Dale Robinson. Jalen Hyatt's probably going to take a year or 2 leap. Darren Waller should be their number 1 target. But, you got Isaiah Hodges and Darius Slayton. You got Shepard coming off an injury-riddled season. So it'll be very interesting to see who the number 1 receiver is. Personally, I like Wan'Dale. But, if they pick Darren Waller, I would not be mad. Now, if you pick Isaiah Hodges or Darius Slayton over those two, I don't know what to tell you. But if Jalen Hyatt, shows up to be that type of receiver that he was in Tennessee and blowing the top off of defenses, by all means, he could be the number 1. So it's kind of funny, right? We talk about Danielle Hunter to the Texans, but Jonathan Grenard went to Minnesota. So it's kind of like a switch. Minnesota said, give me the younger edge, and then and then Houston was like, okay, I'll give you my younger edge, but let me get your star pass rusher. You get what I'm saying? So very interesting switch there. Basically like tit for tat. I like his age. I like his upside too. Okay, he just coming off a 16 and a half sack season. Looks great. Looks like a beast. Let me get him next to Will Anderson and build what we got over here. So very, very good move for both sides, I believe. And I think it'll bear fruit for both teams. The Dolphins. We lose Brandon Jones. We lost a lot of people that we shouldn't have, including Christian Wilkins. But we lose Brandon Jones. And for some reason, this thing about moving within the division, I guess teams just don't fear that players can affect, uh, you know, teams the same way, because like this in the division, moving of really good players like cornerstones of former teams is looking very kind of commonplace. Jordan Poyer is going to the Dolphins on a 1-year deal, and All Pro is going to instantly click with Jalen Ramsey. I mean, they're going to be one of the best back end duos in the league with Holland. Him and Holland are going to be great. He's going to teach Holland so much. And the back end is looking a little bit sturdier now when you look at Jalen Ramsey, Poyer, Holland. I need that second corner, though. And I think Stephon Gilmore would be such a good player. But he might be a little old. We can't go corner in the draft because we need edge help, and now we need D-tackle help so bad. So I'm hoping as a Dolphin fan, and this is just me like looking at the tea leaves of our team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I think that we should hope and pray that Byron Murphy, the second, drops to us at our, I believe we're 22nd pick. If not, maybe Tavondre Sweat or Braden Fisk. We need somebody inside to create a presence. We lost our guy, Christian Wilkins. So I believe that more than edge help, because they're coming back from injury, I believe that D-tackle, D-line, big boy in the middle, in particular, to put next to Sealer, will make sense. I hope Byron Murphy drops down there. Probably not. He's really good. Tavondre Sweat is also really good. So one of those I would like for us to target in the draft, more than an edge per se. But Jordan Poyer to the Dolphins, I love it. He's going to bring an edge. He's going to bring a certain level of playoff intensity to that team and an overall joy. And I think him and Jalen Ramsey and Javon Holland are going to do great, great things. The Bucks, I think this is a deal to possibly retire him as a Buck, as an all-time Buck. Levante David signs a 1-year, $10 million contract. The value is around $9 million. You got to keep your leader. The guy has a golden patch for a reason, not just a C patch. No, the golden patch with the 5 stars. He is basically the leader of that defense, along with Devin White, and Antoine Winfield Jr. So I believe that this deal is either to set him up to retire next season, as an all-time Buck, or to just give him one more season and see what happens, how he feels next year. But good for the Tampa Bay bringing in back their leader on the defensive side of the ball, and also one of the best middle linebackers of his era, if you really think about it, in Levante David. The Bears, the Packers, the Bears have agreed to in division. In division, these people have seen each other, so this is why they're picking players off of each other. So Simone Biles looks like she's moving from Packerland to Chicago. Jonathan Owens, her husband, got agreed to terms with the Bears. 2-year deal. I think he'll be pretty good. He spent his first 4 years with the Texans, then went to the Packers for one season. He had 84 tackles last year. I think he's pretty good. Good young player. Can play nickel, can play corner. I like him for the Bears. They have Jalen Johnson, so they're just adding depth to that back end. So pretty good signing, and taking him away from the Packers is always good. Jalen Mills, the former Patriots safety, he 1-year deal with the Giants, going to the rival that he was. Jalen Mills for a long time played for the Eagles, and now he's going to the rival in the Giants for a 1 year. I believe there's a prove-it deal for him, because the Patriots didn't really give him an opportunity to show out himself. Now, a big signing for the Carolina Panthers, adding to their movement, Broncos, Josie Jewell. You guys might remember, linebacker, really good, hard player, good motor, can tackle with the best of them. He's probably going to become their middle linebacker after them losing Frankie Louvu to the Commanders. So Josie Jewell, 3 years, $22.75 million, $7 million signing bonus. That sounds like a guy that's gonna be your middle linebacker, the guy in the middle of that defense. So it's a good sign for them. It's not Frankie Louvu. You lost your number one linebacker. You lost your number one D end, but as a fitter into that middle linebacker spot that you can feel confidence in for the next few years, I think that it was a good signing for them, for sure. For in Carolina, so it's a good move by the Carolina Panthers. Brandon Powell, the wide receiver, he's signing a 1-year deal with the Vikings, just to add depth there. JJ, I believe, will come back. We haven't heard anything. No contract news so far. He's expected to come in somewhere around $32 to $35 million a year, and reset the market. So far, nothing is going on. But Brandon Powell, former Eagle, going over there pretty good behind KJ Osborne. Keeps him solid in depth over there. Debo's changing his number from 19 to 1, going back to what he wore at South Carolina. That's pretty cool. It's like the Anthony Edwards move, where he wore 1 in his first 3 years in the NBA, and then this year wore 5, which is the same thing he wore in college and in high school. So we'll see Debo at number 1 jersey, which essentially that's what he should wear. I mean, he's that type of player. 19 is kind of weird. You always remember Debo with 19, but when that number 1's going to stand out. Jeremy Chin goes to the Washington Commanders from the Panthers. 1-year deal. This is just to add, depth to that back end over there. He's pretty good safety, hard hitter, can ball hawk a little bit. Somebody Dan Quinn can play with and be malleable with. So he can blitz. So that's a pretty good signing for the Washington Commanders on a 1-year deal, probably a prove-it deal. The 49ers are adding a defensive tackle, agreeing to terms with Browns DT Jordan Elliott. So you lose Javon Kinlaw. Well, let's add, a guy from the number 1 defense in the NFL last year, and Jordan Elliott, 2-year, $10 million deal. Pretty good. You gotta plug and play, man. If you lose key pieces, you got to plug and play and add key pieces. That's the thing with the Dolphins. They still haven't added. They lost Christian Wilkins without having a backup plan, and their backup plan better be the draft, because there is no D tackle out there that you feel somewhat remotely confident to fill in the shoes of Christian Wilkins. So might as well give it to a high draft pick and see if he develops into a better player. Kenny Moore's going back to the Colts, the cornerback, the All-Pro. 3 years, $30 million, making him the highest paid nickel in the league. Absolutely deserved. He's super good. Can pick off. Can bat balls down. Really smart in coverage. Doesn't get beat a lot. So really, really good re-signing for the Colts, keeping one of their like defensive leaders back there for all these years. So very good for them to re-sign him to keep that defensive core somewhat intact with him and DeForest Buckner. They already signed Zaire Franklin. They still have EJ Speed, so it's still a very good core there. He had 13 interceptions when he lined up at slot, 5 more than any other player since the start of 2017. Tyrann Mathieu, Mike Hilton, Bryce Callahan, and tied with 8 such interceptions. He has 13, so he's a ball hawk, especially at the nickel position where you have to identify in-breaking routes, identify when a guy's going to outbreak. You can't jam guys. So he's a very good heady corner and nickelback. So very good signing there, re-signing. We talked about Devontae Parker. It's a 1-year, $4.69 million. They only have to pay $1.2 million of that. So that's pretty good. The Panthers go out and go get a D tackle, A'Shawn Robinson, 3-year, $22.5 million deal. With the following a year with the Giants. He reunites with Ejiro Evero, the former Rams assistant, the DC who pushed for Robinson. Got to add people to the inside if you're going to lose Brian Burns on the outside. It's just kind of how things go. If you don't have edge pressure, you need to have interior pressure, especially to stop the run. So A'Shawn Robinson in there, adding that big boy in there, it will make them a little bit less run defense deficient. Now you got to go into the draft and really assess what you got out there in the edges. I wouldn't like bat out the possibility of them probably moving up to try to get an edge rusher, one of those dudes, like a Chop Robinson out of Penn State. Maybe they trade up to even go get Latu. They really need an impact guy there. They lost one of the best ones in the league in Brian Burns. So I believe that overall you would want to supplement that loss with something that either has the possibility or can plug and play and bring you some type of value there, because if not, you're going to get gashed on the edges. The Commanders signed Khalil Farrell from the 49ers. 1-year deal, base value of $3.75 million. A D-end from the Clemson era of D-ends from the same D-line that gave you Christian Wilkins. And the other two were really good too, but I don't remember them right now. Sorry. He was with the Raiders, did some things, went to the 49ers, played pretty well. He's pretty good. He's not, Montez Sweat, Chase Young type of athletic and crazy, but he's strong. He 3, 4, 5 years in the league now. Like he understands the game. And with Dan Quinn, like I said, Dan Quinn is the type of guy that, he made Brandon Mebane good. He made Bennett good. Michael Bennett good. So he's a guy that if you're a D end and you need a little bit of molding, a little bit of showing, how to be a good one, I think that with Dan Quinn, he'll definitely make an impact next year, and it's a prove-it deal, so he'll definitely want to play well. Keyshawn Nixon, the returner, the all-pro returner for the Packers, they're bringing him back on a 3-year, $18 million deal and could go to 19.2 max. He's one of the best returners in the league. Averages 15 plus, almost 20 yards a return over the last few years. Real weapon. Maybe they'll use him in the offensive side of the ball. They don't really need to with Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Bo Melton. I mean, they really don't need Musgrave. They don't need to, but if they want to, maybe use him as a scat back or some gadget plays, they can. But as a returner, he's incredible. The Colts have re-signed 5 of their own players, basically. Michael Pittman, 3 years, 70. Kenny Moore, 3 years, 30. Grover Stewart, 3 years, 39. Rigoberto Sanchez, 3 years, 7.5. And Taekwon Lewis, 2 years, $12 million. the Colts know that they had a good core of players, and they made sure that they re-signed the most important ones. 5 teams who had yet to sign as of yesterday, because this changed. But teams that had not yet signed an outside free agent was the Dallas Cowboys, New Orleans Saints, Seahawks, Indianapolis Colts, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That has changed. The Dallas Cowboys finally signed somebody. I don't know about the Saints or Seahawks. I don't know about the Colts, and I don't know about Tampa Bay, but I know Dallas added somebody. Not late last night, but later in the day. The Eagles and Jake Elliott reach an agreement to keep him there. 4-year, $24 million contract extension, $6 million per average. Ties Elliott with Justin Tucker, the highest paid kicker in NFL history. I mean, he's coming off a season where he hit 93.8% of his field goals, so there's no need for them to change kickers. It's a good deal for him, keeps him there long term, and secures his financial future. So very good for Jake Elliott. He's a very good kicker in fantasy. So he's actually my kicker in fantasy this past year, and he was very, very good. So very, very well deserved for the Jake Elliott, and a good re-signing for the Eagles, knowing that they had something that you don't find everywhere, and keeping it. Other than that, that was my bookmarks. So now we're going to go to what has happened the last couple of hours. So what has happened in the last couple of hours has been, or not the last couple of hours, I mean, more like the last 24, last 16-ish hours. Joe Flacco went to the Colts. They lose Gardner Minshew. You're going to start A-Rod or AR-15. You're going to start Richardson, AR-5. But you give him someone in the ear who's a Super Bowl champion, been in playoff moments, knows the grind of the NFL, as a backup and also as a starter. Can give him nuggets that some people can't, even people like Gardner Minshew can't. And overall, I think it's a good signing for the Colts. And if AR gets hurt again, you have a legitimate backup that can still run the offense. So it's a very good signing for the Colts. And I was very pleased to see that Joe Flacco landed on a team where his value is more increased because of his knowledge and what he can bring to a young quarterback's ear. Derrick Henry has arrived in Baltimore. Let's see here. OBJ is going to be released post June 1st release deadline. Post June release. This was kind of expected. You got Rashad Bateman. You got Zay Flowers. You got Mark Andrews back. There's no need really to keep OBJ, especially if you're going to have to pay him. He's going to find a team. Might be Miami. Might be the Cowboys, to be honest. They might take a swing there. I would like him to go to Pittsburgh, because then that means they don't draft somebody in the draft. I really don't want Pittsburgh to draft somebody, one of those receivers. I don't like the fact that they have good receivers and don't use them, so it kind of frustrates me. George Pickens. But he'll find a team. I don't think he'll go back to the Rams. You have a team maybe like, they lost Mike Williams. They have Quentin Johnston. You could look at the Chargers, the Raiders. Potentially him and Devontae Adams could be an interesting look for Aiden O'Connell. So there's some teams out there that could definitely go after him, even the Jaguars potentially. So I expect him to be not a hot commodity, but somebody that some people are looking at least get him in the building. The Lions extend their vice president and general manager Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, keep them through the 2027 season. That makes perfect sense. No need to elaborate on that. That makes absolutely perfect sense. The Bengals are bringing back Von Bell, their safety and captain. They lost Jesse Bates last year, so they need to keep one of those core back end members over there. They lost to Uzier. So bringing him back on a 1 year, $6 million guaranteed deal, fully guaranteed $6 million, is good for them to keep a little bit of that back end together. He's pretty good. Let's see here. Signing Von Bell. You have a free agent linebacker Devin Bush, who played for the Steelers and Seahawks. He was visiting with the Cleveland Browns. That would be very interesting. Just a visit though, no signing. But the Browns did sign Quentin Jefferson, the same guy that played for the Jets. He's pretty good. He's another big guy in the middle. A guy to add to that interior defensive line in order to just take off more pressure off Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett for them to get into the backfield and also stopping the run. So that's a good little signing there. Nothing crazy, just a 1 year deal. A lot of prove it deals. The Titans are bringing back Nick Westbrook-Akine on a 1 year deal. He's a good receiver that sometimes gets playing time, sometimes doesn't, make some good plays. Sometimes he looks lost. He has 1,276 yards and 94 catches and 10 TDs in 4 seasons in Tennessee. Onto season number 5 in Brian Callahan's offense. So we'll see what happens there, but he will definitely be behind D-Hop and Calvin Ridley on the pecking order. But it's pretty good. I think he can find a little bit of success being behind those two monsters. So maybe, or Treylon Burks is above him. So maybe he's still a 4th string, but he's shown some good things. He's still young. Let's see. Oh, Mekhi Becton is scheduled for a visit with the Cincinnati Bengals. Perfectly understandable. They lost Jonah Williams. The Bengals did to the Arizona Cardinals, which we'll talk about as well. To protect Kyler. So bringing in Mekhi, he's been hurt and everything like that, but they feel if they see that the potential's still there, they might take a flyer on him, and who knows, he might become really, really good in another situation that's not the Jets. So we'll see there. Bengals are really good at developing offensive line talent after that horrendous Super Bowl start. They brought in Orlando Brown. He did good last year. So Mekhi Becton, if he looks good, might be the replacement for the loss of right tackle Jonah Williams. Drew Tranquill re-signing back to the Chiefs. But he also he made a pitch on social media, on Twitter, on X, to Mike Williams or Marquise Brown to sign with Kansas City. Those would be interesting. Mike is just getting hurt too much. Marquise, it's just not the separator that we're looking for. We need a little bit more explosive potential. Maybe Marquise would do that, Hollywood, but I just feel like Xavier Worthy or A.D. Mitchell would be better, but you never know what Kansas City's thinking. And it was a little bit more. Eric Kendricks, he's changing his mind about opting to sign with the Dallas Cowboys instead of the 49ers. Huh? So he went to the Cowboys instead of the 49ers. So that's their first domino for the Cowboys. Now, for him to go to the Cowboys instead of the 49ers, I guess that's just to be the middle linebacker there. I don't know if Van Der Esch will be the middle linebacker or Jalen Smith if he's still there, but Micah's not going to be the middle linebacker, even though that's what he played a little bit of that in college. But bringing Eric Kendricks in, veteran, knows what he's doing, hell of a tackling machine, rangy, good coverage skills as a linebacker, kind of slow-footed, but very smart. And I guess he wanted to be a middle linebacker. He knew he wouldn't be a middle linebacker or even a second, important linebacker in that San Francisco back end. Even though Dre Greenlaw's probably gone for the rest of the year, or at least until late October, November, December with the Achilles. But behind Fred Warner, you're not being a middle linebacker, so him going to the Cowboys probably gives him a better shot at being a middle linebacker, which is his natural position. But good signing for the Cowboys, at least to get a splash into the free agency. Russell Wilson is a post-June first cut. The Bengals have agreed to terms 2 years, $26 million with DT Sheldon Rankins. My bad. This is actually a good signing because he played really well at the Texans last year. Plugged up a lot of running lanes for that defense. Got to the quarterback a bit. I think pairing him up with Trey Hendrickson and Hubbard really allows for them to be a little bit freer. I think Sheldon Rankins will be a very good run stopper for that Lou Anarumo defense. Excuse me. It's a good signing. 2 years, $26 million. Give him a little bit of a run. Instead of a 1 year deal. I think he's actually going to do pretty good at the Bengals, and he's going to be a good run stopper for them. So I like the signing for them. Other than that, we have to talk about the Calvin Ridley, which happened so early yesterday for some reason. I don't know why. Like we said, Jonah Williams to go protect Kyler Murray. He got a 2 year, $30 million contract from Arizona. Really good. Still got to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. You could put everybody at the line, but he needs that number one receiver, that guy that he's gonna grow with, and gonna send to the all. He needs that all pro dude on the outside. So I fully expect, like I said, with that fourth pick to Maserati Marv to go to Arizona. But Jonah Williams is a great addition to that offensive line to keep Kyler up straight when he's trying to throw to Maserati Marv. So very, very, very good there. $19 million guaranteed for Jonah, so pretty good. We talked about Joe Flacski. I think he's just going to be a great veteran for Anthony Richardson. Like, if I'm being honest, I hope that Anthony does not get hurt in any way. I want to see a full season of him. I believe he has extreme talent, especially physically. But overall, I just want to see him thrive. He has weapons with Pierce and Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor. He has weapons in order to succeed. I just want to see him fully healthy and see what he brings. He also has a absolute cannon. Cardinals released DJ Humphries, the former Pro Bowl left tackle, after 8 seasons towards ACL late last season, and had a large 2024 cap number. So it's a tough business, but got to let him go because he's not going to play. So the Titans traded A.J. Brown to avoid his new salary and then just signed Calvin Ridley. If we look at the contracts, A.J.'s was 4 years, $100 million, $57 million guaranteed that they didn't want to pay, the Titans. And then Calvin is 4 years, $92 million, $50 million guaranteed. So $7 million off in the guarantees and $8 million off in the overall contract value. Pretty close. What I expect from this signing is, what I expect from this signing is that now you give yourself a little bit of cushion when it comes to, you have D-Hop, you have Treylon Burks, Smith Marset. I mean, not Smith Marset. Westbrook Akine, and Calvin Ridley. The pecking order is going to be decided by Will Levis. And what I mean by that is that whoever Will Levis has the most confidence in is who is going to become his number one. Now, in my opinion, his number one should be D-Hop. But because he's going to command the most attention. But Calvin, as we've seen it before, especially in Atlanta, when Julio was there, he was a great number two. And then when he became a number one, he was also a great number one. We didn't see it last year because him and Trevor, for some reason, didn't get on the same page a lot. But full offseason coming off of the gambling, suspension and all that, full offseason for the second time, I think he'll become in better shape. He'll run his routes better effort, more in football mindset. And with D-Hop, he'll just have somebody to soak in, a Hall of Famer to just soak in a bunch of knowledge and stuff about route running and cutting off your brakes, because he has speed. So I look for him to transition into a number one receiver role throughout the season for the Titans. But at the beginning of the season, I expect Will Levis to trust, unless they hit it off in training camp and OTAs and stuff like that. But I expect Will Levis to trust D-Hop a little bit more than Calvin Ridley starting the season. But as the season goes on, I definitely expect Calvin Ridley to usurp D-Hop because of his age and stuff like that. And maybe because the defense will start shading towards D-Hop. I expect Calvin Ridley to really get into those number one boots and kind of hold down that position as D-Hop gets older. Not that D-Hop isn't great, because he is, but I think Calvin is in his prime. So if Will Levis and him have a good rapport, I believe he'll become his number one. Harrison Smith, 6-time Pro Bowl safety, has restructured his contract to play his 12th season with the Vikings at age 35. He was the 29th pick in the 2012 era. He has 34 career interceptions, becoming one of the best safeties of his era. He's not done yet. Thank God. I love Harry Hitman. He is an all-time Viking for me. Hopefully he retires as a Viking, as a Skull. I believe he will. But, restructuring his contract to play one more season. Maybe he retires after this season. Depends how he feels. But 12 years at safety, especially the type of safety he is, which is a hard-hitting SOB. And also a ball hawk in some respects. I think that it's I think that it's very good for them to keep that defensive captain on that squad. On the route. Sorry about that. The Dolphins are expected to sign a D lineman. Hey, a D lineman. Something we need. Former Cowboy, Neville Gallimore. Former third rounder, reunites with DL coach Austin Clark in Miami. Gallimore and Clark have trained together. This might be a possible breakout season for him. We'll see what he does, but I'm glad that we got some DL help for Sealer in there. I don't think that this should be the main move. I think Byron Murphy II should be the main move, but, at least we're not leaving Sealer by himself right now. Bobby is signing with the Commanders. He's just going back to Dan Quinn. Bobby Wagner, that is one of the greatest linebackers of all time. Coming off another career year, 184 tackles. I mean, the guy just keeps getting better with age. I think in Dan Quinn's defense, just like he was with the Legion of Boom, he's going to add a different type of edge to that defense. They've been adding pieces and everything like that, but he's going to really be that needle that sews it all together as being the middle linebacker. I think they're going to be very good. They were last year. I'm not saying they'll be like the best defense in the world, but with Bobby and Dan Quinn, I expect for them to be much better defensively this season. And it's just a great signing for them. Great locker room leader. He'll be named a captain for sure. I don't see it why not. He's wore the gold patch for the last 10 years. So yeah, I believe Bobby was a great signing for the Commanders, and overall a good offseason for the Commanders. A very good offseason. The addition so far is Austin for the Commanders: Austin Eckler, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, which Bobby's just gonna fill with knowledge. Bobby's a Super Bowl winning, middle linebacker, one of the best linebackers in the history of football, and just to put into this kid has so much potential in Frankie Louvu, him and Louvu are gonna be an excellent tandem back there. Tyler Biotish, great center. Zach Ertz is going to play really well at tight end. Dorrance Armstrong, great D lineman from the Cowboys. Dante Fowler Jr. at the D lineman. Shout out my Gators. He'll do good. I think he's never gotten that real opportunity ever since he tore his ACL in training camp during his rookie season at the Jaguars. It's always been on the back foot. Hopefully he gets a real shot. Khalil Farrell, Nick Allegretti from the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. They got that guard, Jeremy Chin from Carolina, the safety. Marcus Mariota, he's not going to play much. I think Jaden Daniels will play. I think they're drafting Jaden Daniels. Brandon McManus as a kicker and Tyler Ott as a long snapper. Pretty good. Pretty good for the Commanders overall. And now the receivers that are eligible for new deals after the 4-year, $92 million and Michael Pittman 3-year, $70 million for the wide receivers, you still got Justin Jefferson going to reset the market. You have CD that's probably going to fall right under him, 29, maybe 30 million, like Tyreek. Jamar Chase might reset the market. Maybe if Justin Jefferson gets 35, Jamar gets like 32, 33. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I don't know if he's going to ask for top value money, but coming off of his rookie contract, I would expect him to fall somewhere around 28 to 30. Ayuk is a $25 million to $27 million receiver as well, and Nico Collins depends on how Tank Dell does this year, but he's the number one right now, so I expect him to be around the $23 to $25 million range for the Texans. So we'll see when those deals come down. Other than that, the Titans offseason so far, Calvin Ridley, 4 years, $92 million. Tony Pollard, 3 years, $24 million. Lloyd Cushenberry, the center, 4 years, $50 million. Chidobe Awuzie, the cornerback, 3 years, $36 million. Kenneth Murray, the linebacker, 2 years, $18 million. Nick Folk, the kicker, 1 year, $3.75 million. And then QB Mason Rudolph to be the backup to Will Levis for 1 year and $3.6 million. Really good for the Titans, too. They needed big splashes after getting rid of Mike Vrabel and stuff like that. So I expect some improvement on the offensive side of the ball. Their offense is Will Levis at quarterback, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears as both running backs. That's why I feel like they should look into A.J. Dillon. Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Chiguziem Okonkwo, or Chiggy Okonkwo, as he's known as tight end. Really good, athletic, fast, really good young tight end. Other than that, that has been the free agency news so far. Yeah, nothing else has come through except Michael Thomas got released. That's another receiver that I expect people like the Raiders to look into. Potentially, when I think about it, a Giants to bring in some veteran leadership into that receiver room. If for some reason the Washington Commanders, not the other team, the Washington Commanders lose Curtis Samuel, I expect them to look into Michael Thomas. People like that is what I expect to Michael Thomas. Joe Mixon got traded to the Houston Texans. I'm not sure that I said this, but he got traded to the Houston Texans. So it's like I said, Houston has made amazing work. Jack Easterby, D'Amico Ryans have made great work in this offseason. I expect them to be very, very legit next year, just like they were last year, but more so this year, especially with Joe Mixon, can get out the backfield, can run through the tackles, can take it to to the house. Very, very good with him and Damian Pierce back there. And especially after losing Devin Singletary, I think it'll be a very, very good running back room over there. And then Brett Ripien to the Bears. That's going to be the backup to Caleb Williams. Thomas Morstead re-signing with the Jets for 2 years, $5 million. The old man punter. Excuse me. And that looks about it. Okay, that looks about it. I expect more things, but so far, that's about it. We shall see what the receiver market comes to be. Now for the NBA. Okay, for the NBA, before we get into some baseball injury news and how that shakes up, but the NBA, it's in a weird spot right now with 18 so games left. Milwaukee's third because they lost yesterday, so they're 9.5 back, tied with Cleveland of the first seed. But we're not going to look at that. What we're going to look at is that New York got OG Anunoby back and immediately started winning. They're 5-5 in their last 10. The last 2 games, they won their first game with Anunoby back. Really good win. I expect that team to start rising. They're 13 games back, 3 games back, 3.5 games back of Milwaukee for the third seed. It's still possible to get up there, especially if Cleveland falters. But Donovan Mitchell came back, so I don't think that they'll falter. Darius Garland's playing really well. Orlando's number 5. They're 13.5 games back, so a half game back of New York. So New York cannot slip because Orlando will take advantage. The 76ers, they're really in a tough spot. It's Tyrese Maxey and Buddy Hield trying to save, and Tobias Harris trying to save their season, essentially not to go into the play-in. They're 6th seed right now, 15 games back, 2.5 games back of Orlando. And they're 4-6 in their last 10. It's not looking good over there. Indiana, they're 15 games back, tied with Philadelphia. I expect Indiana to pass Philadelphia in this next few days because of that. Because of the reason that I just said. It's just Tyrese Maxey, Buddy Hield, and Tobias Harris, no Joel Embiid. So I expect Indiana to take over that 6th spot. Miami is 1 game behind that 6th spot as well, 16 games behind, but we're 5-5 in their last 10. We've lost 4 in a row. We lost to Denver yesterday, didn't even score 90. I don't know what it is with Miami, man. Like, you see some hope, and then you realize that the reason that we tried to go get Damian Lillard and the reason why every Miami fan was pissed when we didn't get him, and why Jimmy was kind of, showed up with that emo look, in the offseason at the beginning of the season for pictures. It's because, you need that extra oomph at the end of the game. And for some reason, Jimmy sometimes just doesn't want to be that oomph. Either doesn't take the amount of shots he should, doesn't assert himself aggressively enough, wants to make too much, doesn't take it upon himself to see that they're losing and that they need a big boost. And sometimes, I just don't get it, especially against Denver. Yesterday was a game for you to, at home, to really show up, maybe go into the 30s and try to get a really big win. To show, we've lost 8 in a row against them. So to show that, we're still a team to be reckoned with in the East and overall for a championship. And coming down the stretch, we got absolutely bodied by Jokic and Jamal Murray. So, and Jokic didn't even have a good game. Neither did Jamal. This was all MPJ and Aaron Gordon, KCP and Reggie Jackson that kind of shot us out the game. So, the fact that we can't shoot the 3-ball, we don't have a set offense to go to when we need a bucket, is all a detriment to our playoff success. Although playoff Jimmy can show up, but I don't want to be in a play-in. Right now we're the 8th seed again. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll probably stay in the. I mean, we're only one game away from the 6th seed, but the way that we're playing, we're probably staying in the play-in. Chicago is as well. Atlanta is as well. Brooklyn. There is a small chance Brooklyn gets in, but they're 25 and a half games back, 3.5 games back of Atlanta. Unless Atlanta completely implodes, Brooklyn, I don't think will get there. Toronto's a crapshoot. They're done. Scotty Barnes is done. Charlotte just needs to keep playing with the young kids. Detroit, same thing. They won 2 in a row miraculously. Cade looks better. Jaden Ivey looks better. Jalen Duren looks better. And then Washington is shitty. We all know that. Denver is finally number 1 after beating the Heat yesterday. OKC fell to half a game back. Minnesota's a 1 game back. But, like, Denver is fully in championship form. They have turned into the team that we saw last year. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They've won 4 in a row. They're really doing it easily, to be honest. It's not even, they're really expending a lot of energy dealing with these people. They keep them around the game, and then 5 minutes left, 2-man game with Jamal Murray and Jokic, and it's kind of over. There's really no defense for it. They're so comfortable with each other. It's kind of like the Draymond Curry type of synergy, but at a different level because, you know, Jokic can score in a variety of ways. There's really not a way to stop them. They're the reason that they're actually the favorite, not the, Vegas might say Boston, but everybody knows it's Denver. And they're playing absolutely incredible basketball at the best time right now. So I think they're definitely looking to lock up that first seed again like they did last year. OKC, half a game back, 7-3 in their last 10. They're doing well. They're just, Denver's just on another level. Minnesota's a game back, no cat, 6-4 in the last 10. This is going to be the Anthony Edwards show. He scored 44, 37 in their wins. I think he scored 28 in the loss. So he's going to have to be, like I said, he's going to have to be over 30. He's going to have to make himself in these next 18 games. He's going to have to catapult himself into the MVP conversation. I think he was there already when they were number 1 all year, but he had 26 a game. But I think this stretch right here, he should be 30 to 35 a game. Ish, kind of like Luka-ish, but still, dishing out to teammates, averaging like 6 assists and rebounding and still playing elite defense. But that's what's going to take for them to keep up. They only have a 3-game cushion on the Clippers, and they have to stay in the top 3, and they would like, I believe, instead of, I don't think they want to face Sacramento. So I think they would like to be in the 2 or the 1 seed to face, any matchup in the West is honestly, like, even if you're the 1, all right? So if you're the 1, if you're Denver, you can face Phoenix, Dallas, the Lakers, or Golden State. You don't want to face any of those. OKC, Phoenix, Dallas, Lakers, Golden State. You don't want to do that. Minnesota, Sacramento, potentially the Pelicans. You don't want to do that either. The Pelicans. Look, the Clippers, the Pelicans. Like, you don't, or potentially Sacramento. Like, there's no matchup in the first round where you are like, oh, yeah, I'll take those instead of, like, no, you're not dodging the smoke from anybody. Like, they're coming for you. These are real teams that have legit shots. But I think Denver's on a cut above everybody else. Minnesota's going to have to keep up. The Clippers are 4th, 4 games back. They have a little bit of separation, 2.5 games from New Orleans right now. They're 5-5 in their last 10. New Orleans 6-4 in their last 10. Sacramento been playing really well. Just beat the Lakers, swept them in the season series. They're a game back of 5 of New Orleans. They're 6-4 in their last 10, 1-2 in a row. So they're kind of picking up steam. Phoenix got everybody back healthy. They're tied with the 6th seed right now at 7.5 games back, so they can definitely work themselves out of that play-in. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Dallas is 8 games back, but half a game back of 6, and they are 5-5 in the last 10, won 4 in a row. Luka and Kyrie have been cooking. So has Daniel Gafford. I think is like a couple buckets away from, couple field goals away in a row from breaking Will Chamberlain's all-time record at 31 straight made field goals. So I told you he was going to be good when they traded for him. Los Angeles, the Lakers, they're 2.5 games back of of Dallas for that 9th seed, for that 8th seed. So I don't think that the Lakers and Golden State are moving from 9 and 10. I think Dallas and Phoenix are going to be too good. Sac's going to be playing too good. So unless they cannibalize each other and people like start moving up and down, I think that it's going to be 9 and 10 LeBron and Curry. Curry's going to come back to the lineup, I believe, this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. He already got cleared for on-court activities. But other than that, I mean, like, the Lakers are 6-4 in the last 10. Golden State's 5-5. Overall, just you don't want to see nobody in the West. Nobody wants to see Denver, but then, again, nobody wants to see Golden State. Nobody wants to see the Lakers. Nobody wants to see Luka. Nobody wants to see Zion. You know, Kawhi had some back spasms, but he's fine. It was just a mid-back thing. He'll be back. I think in the next game, I think he's going to be good. So, you know, the West is a crapshoot. Houston, you know, in the 11th seed, they're not getting nowhere. Utah is going nowhere. Keontae George is starting. I love what he's doing, shooting threes, showing that he can be that number one option. I like it a lot. Gigi Jackson for Memphis is starting. I like that. I believe that for Houston, Cam Whitmore has to start. You're not paying for anything. I think Cam Whitmore should start. They've won 3 in a row. They're 6-4 in their last 10. You know, now they don't have Sengun for a little bit, so that's going to be tough for them. Portland got to start Scoot again. He's still on a minutes restriction. I don't know why. There's 18 games left. I don't understand. And then Victor Wembanyama has sealed already the Rookie of the Year. Now it's going to be about San Antonio seeing what they're going to pair up with him in this offseason, because he's showing that, like, even though he's a rookie, like, if he has a team around him, they can win. So I'm expecting Trae Young to go over there. I'm expecting maybe some other big piece maybe in the fray, but I'm expecting Trae Young to be the main goal for them to go get. And it's going to be between them and the Lakers to try to get Trae Young, I believe, to try to give him the bag or trade for him or get him in free agency. So that's the NBA. Let's go to the baseball diamond a little bit. Key injuries: Garrett Cole out 1 to 2 months with the elbow pain. They don't know if it's UCL tearage. They're going to Dr. Neil Alatrosh, the same guy that did Aaron Rodgers' Achilles. They're going to check if there's any damage to the tendon in the elbow, the UCL. If he does need Tommy John, it's still big because that is their ace. That means Rodon has to carry the load now, coming off a bad a not so good season, coming off an injury. Hopefully he's good. Stroman has to go into that second ace role in the rotation. That moves up Nestor. You lost Michael King to the Padres, so I think what you should do is you got to sign Blake Snell. You lost Dylan Cease to the Padres. He got signed. He got traded from the White Sox to the Padres, so he's going to be their ace if they don't sign Blake Snell again. So I think that, for the Yankees to keep that rotation intact and for them to not to suffer in these next first 2 months of the season, I think that they should sign Blake Snell. I mean, he just won the NL Cy Young, and you can't get any better than that. I think you should just dish out the money for him, and he becomes your ace until Garrett Cole comes back. And then when he does come back, then you have Garrett Cole, Blake Snell, Rodon, Nestor, and Stroman, and that's a really good rotation if you look forward towards possibly the playoffs and a deep playoff push. Super exciting thing. I'm a Puerto Rican, so I love my Puerto Rican players, but this is one of the best in the world. the best closer in the world, Sugar. Edwin Diaz, he's back. Struck out the side, looks healthy in his spring training debut. The slider still has life. The fastball still electric. Splitter's nasty. And he looks beautiful. He looks exactly how he left. I love that the knee's good. Patellar tendon is really tough to come back from, but the way he pitched yesterday, I am confident that he's going to have another dominant season as the Mets closer. And yeah, Dylan Cease traded from the White Sox to the Padres. He gets out of a poverty franchise to a franchise that has a legit shot of doing something. Good for him. Hopefully the slider's back to its peak form. And him and Yu Darvish are going to be the top of that order at the rotation spot. O'Neal Cruz looks incredible coming off of the broken fibula. I'm excited to see him play this season for the Pirates. Paul Skeens looks insane. I hope that he gets the call up pretty quick. Jackson Holiday looks good for the Orioles. Overall, spring training looks really exciting. The most exciting team, though, has been the Dodgers. Shohei has hit bombs. Yoshinobu Yamamoto struck out the side yesterday. Just overall, just a stacked team to just love to look at and to see, the rotation and the power lineup. It's going to be really exciting to watch, but we're getting excited for baseball here. It opens up in April, and other than that, everything looks good. Aaron Judge is hurt, I believe. I'm not sure what's going on with him because supposedly it was Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge that got hurt. I'm gonna actually check that for you guys real quick because that intrigues me because that then puts everything on Juan Soto, which looks incredible. Juan has been hitting bombs. He looks absolutely incredible. But I heard something about Aaron Judge. Let's see, MRI. It was clean. Dealing with injuries. Abdominal area. Any structure did not show any structural damage. So I think he'll be good. I think they'll just slow him up a bit in the spring training, but I think he'll be good for the season. Aaron Judge, big piece because Juan Soto, Anthony Rizzo, DJ LeMahieu, like that, Gleyber Torres, like that's the lineup right there for them to have success. So other than that, everything looks good on the baseball front. This has been episode 80 of the Exec Talk with El Velez. Thank you all for watching. Like, subscribe, follow me on all my socials, comment, ask questions. I'm open to all of it. I love you guys, and I'll leave you with the outro. Que todos quieren ser el chamaquito que no puede